Never give up the battle, even in the darkest hour. That is one of Nelson Mandela's many inspiring quotes recited by Britain's Prince Harry during his keynote address at the United Nations Mandela Day celebration today. The annual event in New York comes after the General Assembly adopted a resolution in 2009 declaring Madiba's birthday an international day. Mandela Day is an occasion for all to take action and inspire change. So let's now cross to our U.S. correspondent, William Denslow, for more information on this one. William, a very good evening to you. Obviously, it's a little bit earlier for you, but let's talk a little bit about just some of those highlights that came out of Prince Harry's speech today as celebrating Mandela's birthday or International Nelson Mandela Day.
Absolutely. Well, one key takeaway from Prince Harry's address is just the impact that Nelson Mandela has had on his life and continues to have. He says that he's gone back and reread a number of Nelson Mandela's letters. He referenced one that you rightly mentioned, then how inspired Prince Harry has been, the fact that Nelson Mandela could show so much optimism, so much hope for the future and for humanity, even writing a letter 7 years into his sentence on Robben Island. Prince Harry also very much providing a bit of a personal account on just how much Nelson Mandela has impacted not only himself but also his family. He says that every single day he looks at a picture of Nelson Mandela and his late mother, Princess Diana, that was gifted to Prince Harry by the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Let's have a listen to that clip.
It is an honour to join you all on Nelson Mandela International Day. Having spent time with many of Mandela's family members over the years, I speak to you today with humility, mindful of how much the man they loved means to so many. Those of us not fortunate enough to know Mandela well have come to understand the man through his legacy, the letters he wrote alone in his prison cell, the speeches he delivered to his people, and those incredible shirts that he sported. On my wall and in my heart every day is an image of my mother and Mandela meeting in Cape Town in 1997. The photo was presented to me by the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, whose friendship and inspiration were their own treasured gift.
Of course, William, the theme for this year is looking at do what you can with what you have, where you are, and food security and climate change becoming big themes in this year's celebration of International Mandela Day, but also Prince Harry making quite references, stern references to where America is, for example, where the rest of the global community is, and food security or insecurity, climate change coming out, especially in light with what's happening with Ukraine as well as Russia.
That's absolutely right. Of course, International Mandela Day is really seen as an opportunity for anyone, not just world leaders, to take some degree of action. That's why that key phrasing is being used this year. So essentially trying to embolden anyone around the world to do what they can to make their community a little bit brighter, especially this year through the prism of food security and helping fight in the battle against climate change. And as you rightly mentioned, Prince Harry stated during his address at the United Nations General Assembly that the world is facing a pivotal moment. Now, he addressed a number of crises around the world, be it the war in Ukraine, be it climate change that's having, as he said, a profound impact, especially in the Horn of Africa that's seeing historic droughts at the moment. Also taking a dig at what's happening here at the United States, saying constitutional rights are being eroded. So very much a veiled nod to what we've seen when it comes to Roe versus Wade and the rolling back of abortion rights here in the United States. Now, as the world faces a number of protracted crises, Prince Harry warned that things like inflation, things like food insecurity are having a profound impact on the African continent as well. Let's have a listen to what exactly he had to say.
In our own time, a time of global uncertainty and division, when it's all too easy to look around and feel anger or despair, I've been inspired to go back to Mandela's writings for insight into how this could be, how he could experience so much darkness and always manage to find the light. This has been a painful year in a painful decade. We're living through a pandemic that continues to ravage communities in every corner of the globe. Climate change wreaking havoc on our planet, with the most vulnerable suffering most of all. The few weaponizing lies and disinformation at the expense of the many. And from the horrific war in Ukraine to the rolling back of constitutional rights here in the United States, we are witnessing a global assault on democracy and freedom. The consequences of decisions made by some of the most powerful people in some of the wealthiest countries are being felt even more deeply across the continent of Africa. The pandemic, the war, and inflation have left Africa mired in a fuel and food crisis. And in this moment, we have a choice to make. We can grow apathetic, succumb to anger, or yield to despair, surrendering to the gravity of what we're up against. Or we can do what Mandela did, every single day inside that 7 by 9 foot prison cell on Robben Island, and every day outside of it too. We can find meaning and purpose in the struggle. Since I first visited Africa at 13 years old, I've always found hope on the continent. In fact, for most of my life, it has been my lifeline, a place where I've found peace and healing time and time again. It's where I felt closest to my mother and sought solace after she died, and where I knew I had found a soulmate in my wife.
William, we'll leave it there for this evening. Thank you very much for your time. Our U.S. correspondent, William Denslow, just reflecting on those sentiments that were shared by Prince Harry during the International Nelson Mandela Day annual lecture given at the United Nations.